what kind of house do you live in?
I
You're
imagine a large empty one.
a large empty one. Okay.
Like not a lot going on, but kept very clean by Bjorn.
Yeah. And you're living in specifically Detroit.
Unfortunately.
So in the past 45 years, you've seen a dramatic population decrease, crime statistic increase, all that good stuff.
This little crime.
Yeah, that's fun. So anyway, to set the scene, you are probably, at the minute, you would be sitting in your office or your study, working on your current project, your current book or paper on the supernatural, and Bjorn is around the house doing work and stuff, cleaning.
As he does.
To set the scene, you're in your study. You are writing about your most recent escapade to some sort of paranormal location somewhere. You've just gotten back and you're in the zone. You're writing. Bjorn's downstairs cleaning up, doing kind of his slave boy errands, the good stuff. And so, after working for a little while, you'll hear a knock at your study door.
Finish the line I'm writing before I get up slowly with my old joints and open the door.
It's Bjorn. He's standing there.
What is it, Bjorn?
He will calmly hand you a envelope.
I'll open up the envelope.
All right. The envelope is very clearly addressed to you, as it has your name on it. And inside, you simply see a photo. And
What's the photo?
it is this photo.
Is there anything else, just the photo, like anything written on the back?
Turning the photo around, written on the back, it simply says, "Might make for a good story."
Is there a return address on the envelope?
No.
I'll make my way over to my computer and Google Blackbrooke Valley.
Okay. I would like you to make the first roll of your session. And that is going to be a library check. I believe they're referred to.
I'm pretty good at those.
It is simply a check made to use resources such as libraries, or I guess in this case, the entirety of the internet to find information on something specific.
Okay, somehow I failed, but I got a 98.
Damn, okay. You don't happen to find a whole lot. Like, you get enough to have an inkling of what this image that you have been sent might be alluding to. And essentially, you find a small amount of history on a place in northern Idaho that is called Blackbrooke Valley. It was founded pretty early in America's history, as a lot of places were, when the colonization began to happen, except because of how far inland it is, there's a good, 30, 40-ish year gap between something like New York being founded and then Blackbrooke Valley being founded.
Yeah.
It is completely abandoned. It was once a very prolific mining town. However, the entire valley was abandoned in the late 70s due to, after a incident in the mine that caused it to burn down and cover the entire town in a smoke that was proving to be quite damaging to the locals' health, as well as a sudden spike in criminal activity, the local authorities issued a evacuation, and the valley was never resettled. The valley as a whole had a reputation for not only being a mining town, but also having a significant amount of paranormal activity, supposedly. The entire valley had like a kind of series of unfortunate events that led to it having this kind of reputation. There were a lot of weird stories stemming from the valley itself, but you can't seem to find exact details on these stories.
Got it.
So what do you do?
I'll hand the envelope to Bjorn and I'll say, see if you can find anything about who sent this. And I'll probably spend the next few hours doing a little bit more investigating on this area.
All
Like,
right.
I'm not necessarily asking for a reroll, but just find out what I can about the area and the general history before I decide anything.
Yeah, sure.
It's definitely piqued my interest.
So Bjorn will take the envelope and leave your office. He'll close the door behind him, leaving you to your devices. And I guess if you'd like to make another check, you can.
All right, up in the stakes, I suppose.
All right.
All right, that one's a success. It's a 70.
70? All right. So there's obviously the valley of Blackbrooke Valley, and there are several towns within the valley. The namesake being the town of Blackbrooke, which was the first one to be founded. There was also a small mining town to the east of Blackbrooke called Werridge, which unfortunately was destroyed in a forest fire when the mine caught fire.
Gotcha.
The flames got so out of control that the citizens of Blackbrooke ended up building another settlement further west away from Werridge, which they dubbed New Blackbrooke, but in later years they just started referring to the original Blackbrooke as Old Blackbrooke, and this new one as simply Blackbrooke. After the mines burned down, the ash and soot that filled the sky ended up giving a lot of people some sort of illness, which was assumed to be black lung. And the people of Blackbrooke didn't have the medical faculties to handle the amount of people that were coming up sick, so asking for help from neighboring towns and valleys, a bunch of new people moved into the valley and formed a new settlement to the north of Blackbrooke called Clearborough, where a large hospital was built. However, the illness kind of didn't show any signs of slowing down, and at the same time, on the other side of the river, across from Blackbrooke, a town called Canmore, which was home to the prison of the valley, ended up making a new mine, which they allowed prisoners to work in to, like, shorten their sentence on, like, good behavior. However, after a few years of the prisoners working in the mines, there was a sudden spike in, like, riots, which eventually led to a huge prison break, which got out of control, and that was when the authorities issued the evacuation notice, as they couldn't handle both the mass prison break and the copious amounts of black lung that people were getting.
Gotcha.
You doing some deeper digging, you do find some sketchy sites that kind of go into the more paranormal of the town, and there's some theories being thrown around that that the mine could have been burnt down by some sort of supernatural or otherworldly entity, or the miners inside the mine were led to starting a fire because of some sort of supernatural entity. But there's no conclusive evidence. Any official papers just say that a fire started. They don't go into detail.
On the websites with the theories, like, is there any, like, like anything more to it than they think it might have been a supernatural like incident? Because like it's so weird. Like, are there any theories of like history in the area of like creatures involved with fire, or like other mysterious stuff going on before this? Or is it
There,
all just like vague?
going back through kind of like archives of news reports and all that kind of stuff from you find like this kind of archive of like photos of newspaper clippings relating to the town of Blackbrooke. And since its very inception, there were reports of people seeing, well, ghosts. Like, very commonly, they would see ghosts of their recently deceased relatives. They would see, or friends or family. Others claimed to, like, see not ghosts of their family, but just, I guess, like, supernatural kind of monsters. The language used at the time described it as demons. However, other than news reports saying this person claims to have seen this, the officials of Blackbrooke never seemed to give it much attention. In fact, they would actively dismiss it wherever given the chance, as the whole valley was never incredibly successful or very well populated due to its location and everything. It was always kind of out of the way and isolated, and it didn't have a very high population until Clearborough was founded. But that was very short-lived, as the valley was evacuated not too long after.
Gotcha. And so in my search, I haven't come across like anyone who's like heavily like researched the thing, like at least not like officially. Like it's mostly just like conspiracies and like people taking a quick look, but like no other like people in my field of work have like taken a dive into this.
No, the whole valley seems to just kind of be not very well recognized as much as other locations that you've already visited. Like, there have been plenty of places that you've gone to that all sorts of supernatural investigators or writers have visited, but Blackbrooke doesn't turn up very often. There's merely theories going around by onlookers. Like, literally the most conclusive pieces of evidence you've found are newspaper clippings that have interviews with the witnesses of the events, but it could be chalked up to nothing more than hearsay. You really have no idea.
Okay. In that case, I suppose I'll relax in my study with a couple of drinks while I wait to hear back from Bjorn.
All right. After a few hours, Bjorn will come back. You know, there's a knock on the door again. He'll step into your office and say in his fucking thick Swedish accent that with no sender information, like a return address or even a name, no sender name, it's merely a practically unmarked envelope that just has your name written on it. He got in contact with the post office and the postman, and they have done some searching through their records and have no clue where the letter has come from, but they say that it's not super uncommon for bits and pieces to kind of slip through the cracks, especially when it comes to personal letters. Usually the ones that they spend the most time and effort on are letters from businesses or government or large parcels. Small kind of envelopes like this do often kind of slip through the cracks and get unnoticed. So it's not the most uncommon thing on the world, but it is a bit strange to you because you have no idea who could have sent this.
Alright. Well, I'll let Bjorn know that maybe in about a week or so we'll be making a trip to the Blackbrooke Valley.
Okay.
And I'll also ask him, as well as our usual equipment, to get some stuff to potentially explore a mine.
All right.
Like maybe like some sort of like respirator in case the air down there is bad. Potentially like some sort of like metal detector or like some sort of like rock wrecker.
Sure.
We'll leave the details to him.
Okay. He'll get on that right away. Let me just add that stuff to his inventory, and then we can do a little time skip if you'd like.
Yep.
And so with that, you spend the better part of this next week continuing to try and find more information on the town, but you've kind of found all that you can. There are some juicy rumors that have caught your attention, like the simple fact that the town has apparently been notorious for paranormal activity since its very inception. It's caught your attention, but you can't really find many specifics on the topic, unfortunately.
Yeah. Did it ever say how long it had been abandoned?
Since the late 70s.
That's right. Okay, that makes sense since there was like no internet back then, so there wouldn't be much detailing it.
Yeah. So the day of reckoning has rolled around, and you and Bjorn grab your things and pack into the car. Bjorn behind the driver's seat, I'm imagining.
Yep.
Yeah, Bjorn behind the wheel. And you two set off on your quaint little cross-country drive from Michigan to Idaho, which isn't as far as other people have had to travel.
Yeah. It definitely isn't our first time. These days we probably spend more time abroad than at home.
Yeah. It's about a 30-hour drive. I'd say you'd make it there in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Or 3 if you want to follow the common road rule of it being like 10 hours of driving a day max or something. But, you know.
I mean, we're not in any hurry.
Yeah. Okay. So like 3, maybe 4 days if you want to stretch it. You drive. It's, it's beautiful. It's, the north of North America. It's very scenic, lots of forests and mountains, and it's beautiful. I'm telling you, it's beautiful.
And thankfully, we aren't in Canada yet.
That's true. Not quite. Not quite in Canada. So, with that, you arrive in Idaho and begin driving north. Kind of asking for directions from locals. Oddly enough, a lot of the local, like even the people local to the state and the area are like, what? Black what now? What valley? So it's difficult, but you do eventually kind of get directions from people who, like, they like old folk who've been there for their whole lives, who kind of go on that kind of spiel that you'd expect, where they're like, no one's been there for the past 30 years. I wouldn't recommend going. It's not a nice place. You might get hurt. That kind of stuff.
Yep.
But blatantly ignoring them because they don't know what they're talking about. They've never been paranormal investigating, so
damn right.
Hell yeah. You continue driving north, and eventually you pass the same sign that is pictured in the photo that you were sent, indicating your entry into Blackbrooke Valley. So you're kind of driving alongside this massive, picturesque lake, and so that's to your left, and then to your right is the beginning of a mountain range that looks to encompass the whole valley.
Yeah, I'll make sure that the GoPro I'm wearing is like getting good shots of like when we're passing the sign and just like the initial scenery.
Yeah, all right. With it being that like you've gotten so close to the valley already, you and Bjorn kind of decide like maybe we can just get there, set up camp, and start like get to work in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're driving there, it's night, it's pretty dark, so you're not seeing many picturesque views, but the headlights are, you got a good shot of the sign in the dark, it makes for good kind of spooky footage. I don't know if you've ever considered like releasing the footage that you've taken during your expeditions,
Or
but
maybe even just like stills, like in the books or
yeah, just
whatnot.
yeah, so like stills, for example. It's good for the atmosphere of the book if it's spooky. So you've kind of gotten that down over the years. As you drive into the valley, you, as I said, there's this massive lake that you're driving alongside on this large kind of, um, I guess, highway that goes all the way through the valley. And on the other side of this big lake, you can see the other side of the mountain range that creates the valley. And because it's dark, it's kind of hard to tell, but you can see in, like, looking up to the sky, you can see there's all the stars, there's the moon and everything, and then at the valley itself, that kind of stops, and the sky is just dark. And from what you can tell, it's because there's big, thick clouds covering the valley at the moment. It doesn't seem to be storming or anything. It just kind of, it looks cloudy at the minute.
Gotcha.
And so you and Bjorn driving along, and you pass another sign that says "Welcome to Blackbrooke." Population, whatever. It's like it's not very relevant now because it's 0.
Yep. Population 2.
Population 2. I like that. You're kind of driving through these thick pine forests at the minute, but you can see up ahead, further down the road, the beginning of the town. You can see buildings, and at this point it's getting really late, and you're getting really tired. You can feel your eyes kind of getting heavy, and you close your eyes for a moment, and it only feels like a moment, but when you open your eyes, you're driving through the town. You're no longer in the woods. You're in the town, kind of looking around. It's foggy, it's dark, there's not a lot going on. The whole place does look quite run down and abandoned. There does seem to still be power, interestingly enough, though, that like there are a few kind of street lights on, but like it's very dark, it's foggy, there's not a whole lot going on. And while you're looking around, you swing your head over to look out the driver's side of the car, and you notice Bjorn is asleep behind the wheel.
We'll shout his name to try and wake him up.
Alright. As you notice this and you shout his name, he kind of snaps to alert and he's awake. But by this point, he has kind of begun to swerve off the road, and the sudden panic of being awake and seeing that he's about to crash, he grabs the wheel and he spins it, and the whole car kind of slams into the side of the wall and begins like kind of rolling. And neither of you take any damage. However, once the car stops rolling, it kind of lets out an exhausted sigh, and the lights go off, and you can see steam and smoke rising from the bonnet. Is bonnet the right word?
That's the front, yep.
Yeah, the bonnet. Bjorn turns the key in the car, and there's a little bit of a chug, and then another kind of sigh. The car does not start.
Bjorn, what the hell was that?
I'm not sure. I was awake one minute and asleep the next. I didn't mean to.
What good is a chauffeur who can't drive?
I can drive, you know that perfectly well.
Then why are we in such a destroyed car right now?
Because there was a minor lapse in judgment with
I
the
expected
belief.
better from you.
I'm sorry, sir.
Hurry up and make sure the vehicle isn't going to explode.
He'll nod, get out of the car, turn on his torch, and kind of look around as he walks over to the bonnet. He opens the bonnet and looks in it, and you can see more like steam and smoke, and you can hear a hissing sound coming from the engine. And he'll stand out there and look at it for a little while, and then kind of lean around the bonnet and call out to you that the engine isn't going to explode, but it's in no condition to drive.
Gotcha. I suppose we'll be making camp here for the night.
I suppose so. Or we could have a quick look around first, if you'd like.
Probably better to stay with the car and have all our equipment on hand.
That's fair enough. Should we head into one of the buildings or just set up our skips here on the road?
Post check a building. Probably too late now, but in the morning we should probably call a mechanic of some sort.
Okay.
Not up to a great start.
So you are currently located in, well, not in the middle of, but very close to like a cross intersection. Like there's the big kind of highway stretching in front of you and behind you, and then there's a road splitting through that, heading north and south. The highway is going northeast, and these two roads are going also northeast and southeast, but at different angles. Southwest, at different angles.
It's like a very skinny X.
Yeah.
And it's just like residential houses around, like...
Behind you, there does appear to be kind of a residential area with a lot of houses. In front of you, it kind of looks like the town starts. You can see what appears to be a bit of a convenience store off in the distance, so it's hard to tell because of the fog and the dark. Behind you, there seems to be a large, multi-storied building.
Any idea what it is just from the appearance?
You might be able to guess that it could be maybe an apartment complex or a hotel or something. It appears to have a lot of individual rooms.
Alright. I'll let Bjorn decide where we're going. He's better off with this stuff than I am.
Well, we have more than enough food, so we don't really need to go to the convenience store. Not to mention, it's been abandoned for almost 30 years, so who even knows if anything in there's still good to eat. Perhaps we should go to the hotel for the night.
Very well. Our luggage is in the trunk.
Yep. Bjorn will take out your bags and begin wheeling them back down the street in the direction that you were coming from.
Alright. I'll follow him.
Getting close to the building, you can tell that it is a hotel. As you get closer to the front, you can see a sign that says South Blackbrooke Hotel, advertising its scenic lakeside views. And you head around the building and enter the car park, which is pretty much barren. And you head into...
Well, when you say pretty much, like the cars there are like all old and abandoned, or is there anything that seems like in alright shape?
The few cars that are there are very old and abandoned. Nothing seems to look particularly new.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. And so you will enter the building with Bjorn and are now standing in some sort of reception room, which obviously is not currently occupied. So there's obviously the front desk directly in front of you, and then kind of behind the desk is a long hallway stretching further ahead, and directly to your left is another hallway stretching further along the building.
Alright. Should we head for an upper floor, or should we stay on the ground?
I think stay on the ground. There's a risk that the floors might fall out from beneath us if we go to a higher floor in a building this old. Bjorn will say.
Very well. I'll head to just the first room available then.
Okay. So, heading down the hallway in front of you, you find the first room, which is unfortunately locked.
Are there keys in the reception area?
Going back and having a look, there is actually a key rack on the wall behind the reception desk with keys for just about every room hanging off it.
Alright. I'll see if I can find one for just a floor on the lower room.
Okay. You grab one of the keys off the rack. It is the key for room 003, which is the closest room in which you are able to actually find a key for, as the keys for rooms 1 and 2 are missing. And you travel down the hallway, which it's got about 3 rooms down this hallway, and then the hallway takes another turn to the left, and it circles around the outskirts of the building. The hallway is also lined with windows in which you can look out and see the dark, foggy surrounding area around the building.
While Bjorn sets up our tents, would it be possible to check the footage on our body cams?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just gonna look for like the bit where we fell asleep.
Okay. So, interestingly enough, nothing seems to be wrong with the footage. You know, you're driving along this kind of road, and then the camera feed gets a little like jittery and staticky around about the time that you pass the sign. However, nothing distinguishable really changes. You could note that, for example, it wasn't particularly foggy before you entered the valley, but once you did, it was, but that might not have anything to do with anything, you know?
Yeah. Interesting. Bjorn, did you bring my notes, or are they still in the car?
Let me have a look. I think I left them in the car.
Suppose we'll check tomorrow then.
I could go and get them now if you'd like. It's not that far back to the car. Only if you want me to, though.
It's not urgent. I
Alright.
was just gonna check if we had anything on missing time. Are you familiar with the concept?
Missing time? No, I'm not.
Well, even someone like you shouldn't be falling asleep at the wheel, yet both of us fell asleep the moment we entered the town. Common theory in the supernatural world. Of course, as you know, most of my research doesn't amount to anything beyond people's imaginations, but I'm still a believer in these occurrences.
Of course. So you think something paranormal has already happened to us upon entering this valley?
I mean, it's obviously nothing certain, but you must admit yourself it's quite a strange occurrence.
Fair enough. It is quite strange.
Then it's not to be ruled out as a possibility.
I suppose not. Perhaps we should head to bed and consider possibilities in the morning.
Suppose we should try, though I'm still wide awake after your terrible driving.
I apologize again.
Don't let it happen again.
I'll try.
Alright, with that, we'll head to bed.
Okay. Do you have an alarm set at all?
I imagine that the sun will probably wake us up through the window.
Fair enough. Going to sleep in room 003, you have an interesting night's sleep, I'd say. Like, not particularly good, not particularly bad, but very, very vivid dreams.
What kind of dreams?
I just said not particularly good, not particularly bad, but I'm going to take that back and say that there's a bit more focus on the negative side of things. You have dreams harkening back to your time in the war, for example.
Not the best memories.
Yeah, not really. And so, with that, you awaken after, well, you're not sure after how long it's been. You didn't happen to check the time before you went to bed. However, when you do awaken, if you have a timekeeping device, which I assume you do because you have a phone,
Yeah.
you check the time and it is 4:46 in the morning.
Is Bjorn up?
Bjorn wakes up not long after.
Alright. Shall we?
I suppose so.
Alright, I guess we'll head back to the car first and check out my notes.
Okay. Heading back to the car, obviously it's 4 in the morning, so it's still quite dark. You still have to use your torches. The fog seems to have picked up a little bit. You can see maybe, I want to say like 15, 20 feet in front of you. But beyond that, it begins to become obscured until around about 30 feet, where you can't see anything beyond that point.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Figured it would be worse later in the night, but just our luck, I suppose.
Heading back to the car, it's still there, still buggered, but everything inside is also still there. Nothing has been taken, nothing is out of place. Everything is still there exactly the way that you left it.
Excellent. Suppose while Bjorn gathers up the rest of our stuff, I'll take a quick look at my notes.
Okay. So, I'm gonna have to say that Bjorn's a big guy, he's strong, but he can only carry so much, you know?
Yeah.
At the moment, he is currently dragging around 2 suitcases full of kind of personal belongings like clothes and things, and anything else that I guess you would pack in your personal suitcase. And then there are other things in the car itself that he would have to bring separately.
How bad is the damage to the car?
The windshield is very cracked. The left front headlight is out, and the whole left side of the car is like completely buggered. The bonnet's like dented because you fully crashed into the side of a wall.
Yeah.
And clearly he hit the wall with enough force to jumble around the engine enough for it to stop working.
But like hypothetically, would he be able to push the car like if I controlled the steering with the wheel? Like are the wheels like knocked out of line or anything?
The front left wheel might be a little off kilter, but not enough to put a wrench in that plan. I think the wrench would be that it would be really fucking slow.
I mean, yeah, maybe we just spend a little while pushing the car into the hotel parking lot.
Okay, that's easy
So
enough.
all our stuff is kind of like where we're sleeping.
Yeah. With the two of you pushing the car, mostly Bjorn's work, but you both do manage to push the car far back enough to a point where you can either leave it kind of on the side of the road out the front of the hotel, or you can hop in and steer it around the corner into the parking lot itself while Bjorn pushes. Either way, it's doable, and the car is now out the front of the hotel.
Yep. Okay. And then I'll get Bjorn to call a mechanic in one of the nearby towns, not in the valley, obviously. Just like maybe somewhere we passed on the way, while I take a look at my research.
Alright. So, while you're thumbing through your notes on the paranormal, I feel like you might have a clearer idea of what those might be than I do.
Fair enough.
Yeah, kind of comparing your experiences so far with previous experiences and previous research, and you don't actually get very far. You practically open the book, thumb through about 3 pages, and then Bjorn says, no reception.
Of course.
He holds his phone up into the air and kind of like looks around, seeing if he can get a little bit, but there seems to be just no reception at all.
I suppose we should look for a building that still has electricity and see if there's a functioning landline.
You did see in the hotel itself, while a majority of the lights did not work, the headlight over the front desk was actually on, which was, I guess, uncanny, you know, seeing a hotel like front desk completely unoccupied, but there was a light shining down at the chair as if someone should have been there. It's always bizarre seeing a place that should be populated not.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there some sort of phone or anything around?
There is a phone at the front desk on the receptionist side of the desk. It's one of those desks that kind of has a cover so you can't see what's going on behind it.
Yeah.
But walking around the desk is easy enough. There's like there are a couple phone books. There are log books next to these phone books and everything. It's like just kind of cataloging all the people that have checked in and checked out of the hotel. And there's a lot of them. They date back pretty far, but they don't seem to be terribly relevant. There is a phone also. You pick it up and there is complete silence.
I'll just put it back down. Any suggestions, Bjorn?
I don't know much about mechanics, but maybe we could look around town for a mechanic, see if there's the tools necessary for us to kind of jury-rig the car into working until we can get it to a professional.
Very well.
Where to start, though? That's the question. And he kind of looks around.
Phone books would have the address, would it not?
That's a fair point.
I'll see if I can find a mechanic in... Which town are we in now?
You are in South Blackbrooke.
Is that the new one or the old one?
South Blackbrooke is kind of like the second half of the new Blackbrooke. It's split up into 3 segments. There's Old Blackbrooke, which is a very small kind of old-timey town because it was built however many centuries ago at this point, actually. Like, when the fuck was America founded? It was built pretty fucking early, is what I'm saying.
1600s?
Yeah, well, obviously there's been renovations, but the town still kind of oozes early American colonization kind of architecture and design and vibes and all that.
Very Massachusetts.
Yeah. And then, of course, there is New Blackbrooke, or what is just referred to as Blackbrooke, which you can safely assume is directly to the north of you if you were to follow the highway that cuts all the way through town. And you are in a second extension of this new Blackbrooke, which is referred to as South Blackbrooke. So, if I could get you to make another library use check.
62. So that is a success.
Too easy. There is, in fact, a mechanic in South Blackbrooke. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't thought far enough ahead to name any of the streets.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it gives you a little bit of directions. It's just a left turn off the main highway. Kind of in the center of townish, close to the docks.
All right, shall we?
Let's get hiking.
All right, I assume we're only taking like essentials, like stuff we need for like a day trip.
Yeah. He'll fold up the handles of the suitcases and put them back in the boot of the car. However, he will reach around and grab his pistol from inside the car, just in case.
Just in case.
And so the two of you will continue up the road. You pass by the store that you saw previously, the one that I said kind of looked like a supermarket or a convenience store, and upon closer inspection it is. It's quite a large kind of supermarket type thing, like a Woolworths or Coles, you know?
Yeah.
You continue walking past the general store, north up the main road, and you eventually reach a roundabout where the road forks in 4 different directions. It continues north, it goes back south the way that you came, and of course, east and west. Directly to your right, to the east, on the corner of the roundabout, is a pet store, and you can see just barely far enough into the fog. There's a monkey wrench-shaped sign to the east.
All right. Suppose we head towards it.
All right.
And just like along the way, I'm just keeping an eye out for like anything that seems interesting.
Okay.
Like I know it's pretty much just like an abandoned town. But like anything that seems like it could be somewhat relevant to what we're looking into.
Okay.
Like obviously I'm not expecting a lot.
I would like you to, in that case, make either a listen check, a spot hidden check, or both.
For For a listen check, I failed. I got a 54, but I needed a 45 or lower.
Okay.
And for the spot hidden check, I also failed. I got a 50, and I needed 25 or lower.
Okay. I guess I'll just roll some checks for Bjorn as well. I guess there's no like passive perception or anything in this game, so in this kind of case, I'm asking for checks as I would ask for passive perception. However, they don't necessarily mean anything is there. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see here. We got a 42 and an 89. He fails both checks. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary at this roundabout in particular. There is, however, a nice fountain in the middle, which you can hear the trickling of water coming from the fountain. With the prior knowledge that this entire valley was evacuated 30 years ago, you obviously you've come into the town with certain preconceptions, which thus far are true. When you go to an abandoned town, you don't expect to hear the kind of sounds that you would hear in a not abandoned town. If like listening out to the kind of general ambience and atmosphere of the area, you can hear wind blowing through the trees to the east. You can hear water splashing against the coast of the lake to the west. You can hear the general humming of the occasional streetlight that actually works. But other than that, it's practically dead silence.
Gotcha.
So you continue down this road to the east, passing a couple like corner stores and everything, and you can see next to this monkey wrench shaped sign, which you now see says mechanic on it, so you've found what you're looking for. Next to the sign is a long road that kind of goes in between the buildings to the left and right of it, and the mechanic seems to be on the other side of the block, but this is kind of like a road that you drive your car through and you put it in the mechanic and then they drive it back. You seem to be at the back of the mechanic, because this might be where they lined up the cars that they're finished with for pickup. This is like the pickup location. But just further down the alley, I guess, it's a lot wider than an alley. Wide enough for about 2 or 3 cars. You can see the building with like these large kind of sliding garage doors leading to the inside of what you assume to be the mechanic. Directly to your south, however, another building of note is you can see kind of like an old-timey pub on the corner of the block to the west. But other than that, there's not a lot else going on in the town at the minute.
Are any of the doors to the mechanic unlocked?
Bjorn takes the lead and kind of walks down this long alleyway to the big kind of garage doors to the mechanic, and they're both closed at the minute, but he will attempt to open one with a strength check. And what is his strength? Fucking 85. Okay. He rolled an 86. Oh my.
That's how it goes.
That's so funny. Alright, so one of the doors is locked and you can't open it. The other door, however, is not. He grips his fingers around it. So he lifts it up and you can hear it make the classic loud metal fucking garage door sound. And he curls his finger around it and he lifts it up and it goes like sugar and fucking spins all the way open.
Alright.
I would like you to make another listen check for me, please.
That's gonna be a 97.
97, okay. Cool. So, inside the mechanic, it's a very high ceiling with these the long kind of fluorescent tube lights hanging from the ceiling. They're attached to these long wires that are coming down about like 10 feet and dangling about 10 to 15 feet above you. However, none of them are turned on at the minute. So,
Yeah.
using your torches, you kind of look around the mechanic, and on the opposite side of the room from you, it's a very kind of uniformly shaped building. Directly on the other side, there's another pair of big sliding garage doors, both of which are closed again, but that seems to exit out onto the road on the other side of the block, which is, I guess, the intended entrance of the mechanic. And then on the wall to your left is these massive shelves just completely lined with different types of tires, and there are workbenches covered in tools, and like there's oil. It's it's a mechanic. It's very messy.
Yeah.
But then the whole building kind of stretches out quite a bit to the right, to the east. There are these different shelves lined with different car parts that can be easily kind of removed and replaced. So, standing where you are, you can see you've entered through the bottom, and ahead of you, you can see these two kind of opening doors to the front. There's the big shelf lined with tires to the left of you. There's another shelf with a bunch of kind of assorted car parts. It seems like this mechanic might have specialized in specifically tire changing and wheel repair, but it is also a bit of a general mechanic.
Yeah.
Where you're currently standing, you can see down a kind of long hallway. There's this big kind of block in the middle of the room, which might have rooms or like offices or something in it. You can't quite tell at the minute.
Any idea what we'd be needing, Bjorn?
I'm not the most versed in mechanics, but I can have a look around. I assume you probably don't have any skill in mechanics either.
I do not think so.
Okay, because it's a base 10 roll. However, I'd allow you to effectively give him advantage and have him roll twice if you wanted to.
Just to double check. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll give him advantage.
Cool. Still a fail. However, it's not like there's a shortage of anything. You've just got to figure out specifically what you're looking for, which is easier said than done, considering.
Yep. Also, the fact that we're driving a car probably
Yeah.
made 20 years after this mechanic shut down.
In the middle of this kind of long, like, hallway room where the cars pass through, in the middle there are these big contraptions that are clearly designed to lift the cars off the ground so they can get to the underneath.
Yep.
Again, there are a lot of tires. The tires themselves on your car don't seem to need fixing. However, one of the wheels was a bit buggered, but you and Bjorn both didn't quite deem that enough damage to like be considered worth worrying about.
Replacing the wheel.
Yes, as far as you can tell, the engine is what needs the most focus.
Yeah, it won't even turn on.
Yeah, clearly. So, Bjorn's really good at driving, but
He does not manufacture cars.
He does not manufacture or work on cars, so neither of you really have any clue what kind of engine parts you're looking for, what kind of tools you would need to work or fix the parts. You're at a bit of an impasse.
Is there anything around, like, that could give us an idea? Like, obviously I'm not going to learn how to become a mechanic, but, like, could I take a look around if there's, like, any, like, I don't know, like, do they, like, manuals for, like, car repair that, like, they reference and stuff? I personally know very little about what mechanics do.
I would like you to make a spot hidden check for me to kind of have a look around and figure that out. Because spot hidden is the closest thing to a fucking perception check in this game.
Got a 25% chance.
Alright, Bjorn failed.
That's a 92.
92, and Bjorn got an 80.
Why is it so hard to win in this game?
I don't know, man. If the goal was to roll high,
I'd be a legend.
Yeah, so with this searching of the building being undertaken, you can see that the whole building kind of has this particular shape to it. And while you haven't looked in any of the rooms, you do now know that there are several. The whole kind of outside, or like the outer casing of this building being the mechanical part, it's all really just like storage for different car parts and different the tools. There's fuel cans, there's oil barrels, there's anything anyone would need to do any sort of mechanics if they knew how.
I guess we can take a look in the middle rooms, just in case, considering we're not having any luck out here.
Looking in that room, you can see that it passes through into another, but this room in particular seems to be a bit of a break room. There's a large kind of table in the middle, there's a lot of chairs around, there's a big whiteboard, there's a fridge, there's a water cooler, there's various car-related posters on the wall, including several kind of, I guess, anatomical depictions of a car. Like, this is the door, this is the wheel, this is the windshield, like all this kind of stuff. It's like...
That's stuff you'd love to see your mechanic referencing.
Yeah. And then there's also just kind of like fancy posters that have been torn out of magazines that like depict really like top of the line cars, like sports cars from the 70s and the 60s.
Yeah. Grease Lightning.
Yeah, there's a couple books on the table. Some of these books do appear to be manuals of some kind.
Could I check like anything specifically like engine related?
You find one talking about the kind of specifics and inner workings of radiators and other kind of engine related things.
Yeah.
To the untrained eye, unless blatantly obvious, it's quite difficult to tell what a certain piece of a car is supposed to look like and whether or not it is visually damaged. So just say, for example, you went back to the car and had a look at the engine without like a direct visual reference, like a photo of like, this is what it's supposed to look like to compare it to, you probably wouldn't be able to tell if something was damaged per se.
Yeah, it's a bit beyond us.
Yeah. However, reading this book, it does tell you the basics of kind of general car maintenance, such as you have to keep the radiator topped up with water or engine coolant. You have to check the oil. You have to like do all this stuff to try and like kind of make sure that the engine's got all the shit that it needs to function.
Yeah. All that jazz.
Yeah, it goes into detail about the radiator cap, how to check your oil with the dipstick and everything, how to tell how much oil you've got, how much water or coolant you've got. It's not terribly relevant because as long as it works, it works. You don't need to know the exact specifics of it, but it goes into like detail on how those things affect the car in its operation, like how the oil and how the water are significant to the engine functioning. That's not very relevant to you, but
yeah.
If
I were an aspiring mechanic.
Yeah. If you were an aspiring mechanic, you could read this, get a customer, and then proceed to use big fancy words to make the problem with their car sound significantly worse than it actually is, so they pay you more to fix it. So, while you've been reading up on basic engine care, Bjorn has been looking around for various things that may help, such as he's accumulated a small toolbox with various tools, a small bottle of oil, and another bottle of radiator fluid.
You'll love to see it.
His hands are kind of full. He's carrying, like, the bottle of radiator fluid and the bottle of oil, for example, they've got handles. He's kind of holding them both in one hand by the handles, and then in the other hand, he's got the toolbox.
I'll go over and help him out with my meager old man strength.
All right. You can handle the two bottles. Like, I mean, sure, they're like 2 liter, but you're not that fucking old. You can walk around with 2 liter bottles of milk without like straining yourself.
I'm not helpless yet.
Yeah, especially if you put one bottle in each hand as opposed to trying to hold two 2 liter bottles, aka 4 liters of fluid in one hand.
At a weird angle because of the handles.
Yeah. Bjorn will ask. Have you found anything that might be conclusive, like information-wise?
Nothing that could help us in this situation.
So you don't think it's the oil or the radiator or something?
I wouldn't know enough to tell unless you have enough base knowledge already. These books are kind of useless.
I am going to have Bjorn make an intelligence check very quickly. Give me a moment. Okay, he passed. There could be something wrong with one of those things that you were just reading about. Like, there could be a leak somewhere. Or, I don't know, who knows? Or it could be something significantly more important that is heavily damaged that we just wouldn't be able to tell.
Well, we have no transportation. No way to call anyone. I think it's safe to say that our main objective is put on hold, and finding a way out is more important.
Yeah. Am I still gonna have a job after this?
Assuming we survive, yes.
Thank you. Graciously, thank you.
I'll let him growl for a bit before heading out.
You gloat. Alright, so, his groveling is cut short as you hear an interesting noise coming from the garage door that you entered through.
What kind of noise?
That is where I would like you to make a spot hidden check.
A spot? Can it not be a listen check?
Or a listen check. You can do either. I don't mind.
I mean, hey, the 45 is better than the 25.
Yeah, alright. So I'll say, judging from like your current positions, maybe you're facing away from it, so listening is more optimal, but Bjorn will make a spot hidden check to kind of look over your shoulder at what's going on behind you.
You're not going to believe this. I got one.
You did it? You passed?
I got a 39 out of 45.
Okay. Fact of the matter is, Bjorn can't see anything because his torch isn't pointed in the right direction. However, both of you hear it, but you're able to discern what you've just heard. And what you've just heard is the very iconic growling of some sort of canine animal.
Huh. I turn around.
Turning around and pointing your torch in the direction, I guess, to be able to see what's going on, you see not quite what you'd expect to see. This isn't a dog or a wolf, but something with a shape describable of that, but it doesn't look right. It looks fucked up. It looks rabid or mangled.
Bjorn, if you would.
You want me to shoot a dog?
It's clearly some sort of wild animal. Seems aggravated. This might be where it lives. Being trapped in close quarters with such a dangerous creature is not the best idea.
We could back up slowly and try to go through the front door, circle round.
Are you confident in your skills to shoot it once it starts pouncing at us?
I'm a good shot.
Can you carry the mechanic's toolkit while having your gun pointed at the creature?
Easy. Because you're holding the bottles, now he's got a free hand. He's got the mechanic's toolkit in one hand, and he's pulling his gun out of his holster with the other. And now aiming at the dog. This does mean, however, he's not holding a torch. So you're going to be the source of light.
Yep.
You've got the bottles and the torch. He's got the tools and the gun. And I guess you're now both slowly kind of backing away towards the doors on the north side of the building.
Yep.
And so, could you please make a stealth check for me? Not necessarily to hide, but just to kind of like move slow enough to not set it off.
Yeah, that's going to be an 87.
87? Okay, what about Bjorn? Ooh, 29, almost. Okay. Whilst you're both backing up towards these doors, the dog is kind of like, it's growling, and you can see it kind of stepping into the mechanic building. So it's not backing off, it is approaching. And with that, you both accidentally bump into and create a loud metallic rattle as you back up into the metal door, as both of the doors at the front are closed. And so, while you're still focusing your light on the dog, and Bjorn's still focusing his gun on the dog, Bjorn slowly kind of kneels down, puts the toolbox down, and with his one free hand, reaches behind him and attempts to lift the door open, which thankfully works, yet again making a lot of noise, which prompts the dog to spring into action, you know?
Yep.
So, let me to make a quick dexterity check on Bjorn's half. That's a success. Bjorn will, immediately after opening the door, kind of grab you by the shoulder and shove you out the door behind him. And then also fire at the dog.
I have faith in Bjorn.
You hear the gun go off, but you can't see any conclusive results because, unfortunately, upon him shoving you, it moved the torch, so he kind of just shot blindly into the dark.
Right.
But either way, he's like, run! With that, if you would like to make a dexterity check or something to begin fleeing, or whatever you want to do.
What is my dexterity? 35, because I'm old. Yeah, that's going to be a 62.
Nice. And so with that, Bjorn will begin moving along behind you. Still, he's not running at full speed, so he can, first of all, not overtake you and leave you to die, but also because he's kind of jogging backwards to keep an eye on the dog, as you've both you've left the mechanic and you're now on the pavement, and thankfully there's a bit more ambient light from the sky and from the street lights, so he's not as reliant on the torch, but it is still dark. But he's kind of jogging backwards with his gun trained on the dog, and you hear the gun go off 2 more times, and with the second shot, there is actually a yelp from the dog, but it's still coming. Instead of the metal against concrete sound that you heard from the first 2 shots, there's a metal against meat sound this time, and the dog makes an audible sound, but you can still hear its claws like clacking against the road as it continues chasing you down. And
clearly someone never heard of cutting your losses.
Yeah, and it just rolled a shit dexterity check, so you're keeping pace, and it is also keeping pace. It's not necessarily getting left in the dust, but it's also not catching up with you for the minute.
Excellent.
So, would you like to make a spot hidden check for me, please?
DC 25. That's going to be a 58.
So that means, in this case, you're running down the street, and at this point you've reached another roundabout. It's not the same one. It's the last roundabout that you were at was on the south side, or like the south corner of this block. You're now at the north corner. There's a roundabout on either corner, and by this point you've run kind of perpendicular along the side of this mechanic building, and you've reached the second roundabout, and you are in a bit of a panic, and you haven't noticed that just as you turn to face south to begin running back towards the hotel, you turn the corner, and there are several more dogs coming from the south towards you, and one of them actually will pounce at you.
Can I try and swing up one of the fuel bottles to try and shield myself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna need you to make a kind of contested roll. And so the way combat works is whenever a creature targets you with an attack, you get to choose whether or not you want to try and dodge or quote-unquote fight back. What would you consider this? Because fighting back, if you would deem this fighting back, it would mean you're kind of swinging the bottle upwards in a bit of a motion to attempt to kind of parry the dog's gnashing teeth that are coming towards your face. And in that swift action of kind of knocking it out of the way with the bottle, if you succeed, it would do damage to it. Or you could consider it a dodge to try and just fully get out of the way of the attack.
I guess this is more of a dodge. This is really about avoiding like the 40 kilos jumping towards me with jaws wide open.
Alright, in that case, make a dodge check contested against this dog's brawl check.
Oh my goodness gracious. Would the other one have been a brawl check?
It would have been a fighting skill with your currently held weapon, which in this case would be a bottle, an improvised blunt object, so that would have been brawl, yeah.
You're not going to believe it.
Do you want to change your mind? I don't know.
Fine.
Okay.
I rolled a 2.
You rolled a 2.
I rolled a 2.
Dude, that is so fucking lucky because this dog rolled a 7 and I was certain you'd die. Okay. So, with the bottles in your hand, you see this dog, like, it's in such a split-second moment that you have to react. You're running down the road, down the pavement, and you turn to go around the corner. But the minute you turn your head, you see this like pack of dogs charging towards you, and one of them is right there at the corner in the process of lunging at you. And you lift up these bottles. You don't necessarily parry it, but like this, with a sheer amount of adrenaline going through you at the moment, with both hands and both bottles, you kind of use them to scoop the dog up with the bottles and push it out of the way to avoid the attack completely.
Nice.
And
old man strength.
Yeah, but there are more dogs coming from the south. At this point, Bjorn has obviously noticed, and taking initiative to try and protect his boss, he will again grab you and push you to the north, prompting you to begin running in the opposite direction that you intend to be running, but in the current situation, away from the danger. The safest possible option would be to run north.
As he pushes me, can I just try and like let go of one of the bottles, like let it go flying towards the pack of dogs?
Sure. Could you make in that case, that would be like a throw check?
It's already one, and unfortunately that is a failure.
Alright, so throwing the bottle of oil towards the dogs, you miss, like you don't hit any of the dogs, but that was a very obvious sign of retaliation, which one way or another has affected the dog's mental chemistry, and they now know that you're not just prey fleeing from predator, you're willing to fight for your life.
I am the peak of evolution.
Hell yeah. So, could I get another dexterity check from you, please, to try and begin running to the north?
65.
65, okay, let me do Bjorn's check, that's 22. And the dogs... Oh. Okay, with that, Bjorn is going to throw the toolbox at one of the dogs, so he has his free hand. And that's a 17. God damn. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, whenever you mentioned dogs, I was like, surely there's like a stray of wild dogs. Like a pack of wild dogs. Like, they gather in packs. I was like, no, he wouldn't do that. This is session 0. You got a whole campaign to kill the players off.
Yeah, alright.
Unless you mean to take Bjorn from me, but that would just be cruel.
A 5 plus 2 half. A 5 plus 4 half to 2, so that is 7 damage to one of the dogs. You're probably running for your life, so you're obviously not really looking over your shoulder. You're just like fucking dead old man sprint, running down the road, not looking behind you. But you can hear like a grunt from Bjorn, and you hear like the kind of whoosh of a big metal object being thrown through the air. There's a clatter and a crash and a whine from one of the dogs, and then you can hear like it sounds like the toolbox is like broken open and all the tools have like fallen onto the floor. And so with that, there's another gunshot, and at this point I'm gonna say that Bjorn, noticing how slow you're moving, is going to make a strength check to pick you up, which is a success, and then make a difficult dexterity check to try and run with you. Oh, he just fails. He fails by 2. It's a 25 and you rolled a
Oh.
27. Okay.
Bjorn.
So, the dog's rolled a 17. So Bjorn, like, kind of, he picks you up and, like, in a very fucking swift and fluid motion. It's impressive. He, like, grabs you by the waist, hoiks you up over his shoulders, and then, like, he's given you a piggyback ride. He's grabbed you by the legs, and he's trying his hardest to just, like, sprint down the road. And you can hear the dogs getting closer, and it's getting really intense. And then the worst thing that could possibly happen at the moment that you hear, quite frightening, Bjorn lets out a cry of pain as one of the dogs has leapt and latched around his leg.
Don't kill Bjorn. Don't take Bjorn from me, Ruben.
So Bjorn's very slowed down now, like, by the fact that there is a dog latched around his leg. He tries to shake it off, but has failed, and at this point, more dogs are coming to get yous. But
Do I have an opportunity to do something?
take an opportunity if you'd like. Like, do whatever you want.
I had pepper spray.
You have pepper spray? Okay.
Can I just try and, like, unload my pepper spray in the face of that dog who's, like, clamped down on Bjorn?
Sure.
Like, eyes, open mouth, nose, like, whatever I can get.
Absolutely.
I don't know what kind of check that would be. Okay, well, the first one's a 97.
Okay.
I'm so good at this game. Next, 66.
66, okay. And do you want to make one last check?
If you're gracious enough to allow for it.
Yes.
That one would be a 81.
81, okay. So I'm not gonna lie. None of those hit.
Yeah.
So in your blind panic, you managed to fish your mace out of wherever you've got it. You've probably got it hooked onto your belt. So
Yeah.
with this, you unhook the mace and you pull the cap off, and you, in the process of spinning around, like, to face behind you, you've already got your finger down on, like, the trigger, and you're just kind of wildly spraying it as you bring your hand around, and you spray it in, like, every which direction, and you waste about 3 squirts worth, and you just kind of shoot it into the air. You've made a bit of a cloud of stinging smoke. Like, you've made a bit of an AoE that maybe if they passed through it, that would hurt, but you've completely missed the dog on Bjorn's leg. But the dogs behind him are a bit dissuaded by the pepper spray cloud that is in between you and the dog. Bjorn hasn't stopped running, he's just a lot slower because he's got a dog hanging off of him. And at this point, the dog is, like, yanking and pulling him, trying to pull him back. And with a contested strength check, fucking Bjorn absolutely wins and gives him...
Goddamn right he does.
Yeah, and gives him room to shake the dog off. So he's now limping because his leg's bleeding. He's got a bad injury, and so that makes his dexterity checks a little bit more difficult.
Worse.
Yeah, however, the dogs are suddenly rolling shit, except for that one.
How many shots has Bjorn fired?
3.
3. Okay. I assume there's probably like another like 6 or so.
He has a Beretta. I decided I'd give him a pretty standard pistol that doesn't do the most damage, but it's got a decent clip size. So
Yeah.
he's got 12...
I mean, in most cases, like a pistol's going to do a job if you need a pistol.
Yeah, he's got 12 bullets left.
God damn. What's his handgun? Is he like?
I'm not gonna lie to you, he doesn't have any. He's...
Yeah, neither do I. So I'm thinking, is it easier for him to run if I'm shooting?
Maybe.
Because like, we can try that. The only difference will be my terrible luck in this game.
To be fair, Bjorn's only hit 1 shot.
I mean, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. I've only passed like 2 checks total.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we can try.
I mean, you can call out to him to give you the gun if you want, while he focuses on, like, trying to escape, so he doesn't have to sacrifice speed to, like, turn around and try to...
Let's do that.
Okay. So with that, he will hand you the gun just in time for the 2 dogs that were behind the cloud of pepper spray to kind of circle around it either side, and now they're kind of running towards you, while the third dog that Bjorn just kicked off of him, this third dog is attempting, like, to recover from being kicked. So one of the dogs is lagging behind, and the other two are catching up.
There's only one thing to do in a time like this.
You can fire the gun up to 3 times per round.
I guess I'll see how I go. I'll
Yeah.
start targeting one.
How,
91.
Okay, so that's a fail.
54. Yeah, that's already a 39, so regardless, it's going to be a miss.
Okay,
Which is unfortunate.
so that is 3 shots down, meaning there are 9 left in the chamber. I will, however, make, like, a passive fucking, like, mental fortitude save for the dogs, because that's a lot of loud noise suddenly.
Yeah, and there's like bullets like ricocheting past them.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably haven't seen guns before if they've been in an abandoned town for 20 years.
So the 2 dogs that are catching up with you, you fire blindly towards them, and you don't hit any of them. However, it does dissuade them. And at this point, yet again, it's the third dog that Bjorn had just kicked off of him that was like on the ground, and now it's gotten back up, and because it wasn't within the range, it didn't get affected by the gunfire, and now it's going to make a dexterity check as opposed to Bjorn's. And so now the other 2 dogs have backed off, but this one's bolting towards you now.
Got a taste of human flesh.
Alright. Yeah, pretty much. So with this, you're running north up the street, and I doubt either of you are paying much attention to your surroundings, so unless you want to actively, like, look out for anything that might be able to assist you.
I'm focused on the dogs.
Okay. I'll say whilst Bjorn is doing it, hold on. Wait. Yo! Okay. Bjorn makes a perception check to look out for anything that may or may not assist you both. He will call out to you whilst, like, limp sprinting down the road that there is a gas station up ahead, and he will say, he's going to be like, try shooting one of the gas pumps as we pass.
Alright. I will attempt to do so once we're passing by.
Okay, so at the minute, you're about maybe 2 or 3 rounds until you reach the gas station, and then another round or 2 before you're ahead of it and therefore able to shoot. So it's not for a little bit,
Sure.
but anyway. With this dog bolting towards you, you see it, like, fucking pounding towards you. Like, you can hear its claws and its paws thumping against the ground, and it leaps up into the air, and Bjorn just manages to fully, like, twist his body out of the way, and it jumps in front of you both. And now you've got a pretty clean shot. And I would say, with this dog, alright, fucking make it with advantage, bro. The dog's disoriented, he's surprised. First one's a success.
Alright, I rolled a 12.
Alright, roll again just in case you get a 1, because that's a critical.
Nope.
Nope, that's fine. That is chill, my bro. So, roll a d10 for me for damage.
8. That's where the high rolls help.
Hell yeah. You manage to shoot this dog straight through the torso area. And you don't manage to really see what happens because Bjorn's running down the road, so it's ahead of you for a second, you shoot at it, you see the bullet connect, and then it's already behind you. Bjorn keeps running, you can still hear the dogs, like, barking and howling and chasing, and so that is a 35 for Bjorn. So, with one of the dogs either severely injured or dead, you can't tell which, that leaves the other 2 dogs, which are still chasing. And at this point, you are, like, perpendicular to the gas station.
I see.
And so, in a few more seconds, you will have passed it, and this would be a good opportunity to fire at one of the things to create a diversion, or an obstacle for the dogs to be unable to get around. I would say, at this point, Bjorn actually swerves from running along the road to now he's running through the gas station, like in between the pumps, to try and get the dogs to follow. So when you fire, they get caught in the fire, assuming you hit.
Classic Bjorn.
With these two dogs still chasing you. One of them catches up, and so that's that. Let's get Bjorn to roll a dodge check. That is a fail. Okay.
Well, considering I only made one shot, could I fire another?
You could.
I just rolled a 1.
A 1?
A 1!
Okay.
The best number in Call of Cthulhu. It gave me a 5.
A 5. Okay, so you did 10 damage. So
Yeah, I did get a 10, kind of.
you see this dog leaping at you, and in this fucking you and Bjorn. Hold on, a critical success. So there are critical successes. What does a critical success mean?
Everything good happens.
So the way it works is, it is not double damage. It's, remember how Oliver was talking about how he was planning on changing criticals in his campaign, where
It just does max damage.
yeah, max damage plus whatever you rolled. That's how this works. So it does 15 damage total.
Hey, that's solid.
That is solid. So with that, this dog is leaping at you. You can see its teeth gnashing, and you get the gun and you pull it out, you shoot, and you blast it straight through the head. And
You did?
I think it's safe to say that dog is dead.
Oh, crack shot.
So there's one left, and at this point, Bjorn has ran out of the petrol station, and that would now give you a good opportunity to do the
Take the
thing.
shot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the thing. Oh, you're kidding. The 26.
Oh, damn. Okay. So you fire at one of the pumps, and you see a spark as the bullet hits it and ricochets off and doesn't do the intended effect. And so the third and final dog comes. Sprinting isn't a strong enough word because of how quick it is moving. It is just completely darting towards you two, and it leaps up, and Bjorn tries to dodge out of the way after like hearing it, but because of how quick it is, he doesn't have time to quite react, and will take a little bit of damage as it bites him.
My Swedish man.
So he's going to make a Constitution check. Oh. Oh. Alright, with this dog leaping up and biting Bjorn, he lets out this agonized cry of pain as he falters and falls to the ground, dropping you.
Oh my goodness.
I
Don't
would,
tell.
I would like you to make a... Jeez, I don't even know what. I'm going to say jump check to try and land on your feet or not hit the ground face first.
Jump. 20% chance.
20%.
I rolled a 90.
90. Okay. So,
I'm skilled like that.
with that, you're going to hit the ground and take 1 point of damage as you... Well, let's see. There's a pretty significant difference between 20 and 90. So I'm not going to say you land face first, but you, like, fully hit the ground. Like, there's no way around it. You fall like a ton of bricks, just like Bjorn does. Except you're higher up, so there's a lot more inertia and momentum behind your fall. So you hit the ground and kind of knock the wind out of yourself. And so Bjorn's on the ground with this dog digging its teeth into his kind of his waist, his abdomen area. What are you doing?
Gonna scramble towards Bjorn and the dog.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna put the gun like against its head and pull the trigger so there's no chance I miss.
Okay.
Like guaranteed shot as long as it doesn't like jam.
An attack made at point blank range whilst aiming. So that is 2 bonus die. That's double advantage.
You'll love to see it. First one is a 6, so that hits. I'll
Nice.
just check for a crit. Nope, that's a 94. Last chance. 15. Okay, so yeah. It's a hit, but not a crit.
Okay.
So the damage on that is going to be 9 points of damage.
9 points of damage. Okay, so you shoot this dog, and the force of the hit like sends it tumbling backwards, and it's no longer latched onto Bjorn. But Bjorn is not looking good. Both of his legs are covered in bleeding gaping kind of bite wounds, and he's now got a bite in his waist. He doesn't look the best. Do you want to like help him to his feet, or what's the deal? What's the go? What's the haps?
Is there just the one dog, or did that other one come running back towards us as well? Because only one actually died, I think.
There's just this one dog at the moment.
I'm gonna take 2 more shots at it.
Alright, those will be both made with disadvantage.
Why disadvantage?
Because you've already fired.
Oh, I thought it was if you miss, you get the disadvantage.
Oh,
My
no,
bad.
it's just disadvantage if you fire multiple times around.
Alright, yeah, second one's a miss. Third one, also a miss.
Okay, so that's 4 bullets
I think I
gone.
have 3 more shots.
You either have 4 or 5. I might have miscounted, but I'm just going to say you've got 5 for the benefit of the doubt.
Righto.
Um,
I'm just gonna kneel next to Bjorn and cover him while he does whatever he's trying to do.
okay, with that, Bjorn is going to fucking champion. He's gonna get up, like fucking, with all the strength left in his very weak, possibly dying body. He brings himself to his feet, and he stands up, and he's gonna reach for his nunchucks that are attached to his belt, and he draws them, and he looks at you, and he says, "Run."
I'm gonna stay there with him.
Okay, with that, the dog recovers from the injury, and it's a really bizarre sight. You injured this dog really badly, and it is still coming for you. This dog is limping towards you weakly. It's hardly able to even walk, but it's still coming at you with just bloodthirst and vigor that is very uncanny to witness. Like seeing an animal within such a kind of inch of its life still being this determined to kill you.
He just does not want to give up.
That's right. And so you've got a fairly good opportunity to shoot the dog. Straight check if you want to aim. For future reference, I might say that aiming is kind of like a called shot. You've got to not take an action for one turn and then get advantage on the next turn. However, I'll let you do it because like the dog's moving pretty slowly. I'll give you an aim shot. So roll with advantage for this.
That one's a 3.
A 3. That hits.
Why can I only shoot things? Imagine if I had put skills into handguns. Alright, so that is going to be 7 points of damage.
7 points of damage on top of the...
So I just blast this thing.
On top of the however much damage you did with the previous shot. You shoot this dog, and it keels over dead.
God damn.
At this point, Bjorn takes the opportunity to fall unconscious.
Yeah, I'm gonna go try and help him out.
Alright. He is very weak. He's bleeding. He's just kind of on the floor within an inch of his life. This guy's got 15 hit points, by the way, and that's the only reason he's still alive, because he is on 1.
Oh my god, Bjorn. Okay, first I'm gonna grab a new mag, and I'm just gonna reload the gun. Just in case.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna open the first aid kit and try and, like, staunch his bleeding.
So, you want to try and stop his bleeding. Could you please make a medicine check or a first aid check?
Okay, first aid is definitely the way I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a success. I got an 18.
You got an 18. Okay. So, medicine is the more difficult but more effective check. It grants more health back when the check is successful. So, I would say with this, it says you only gain 1 hit point, but considering you've got a first aid kit on hand, I'll bump that up a little bit. And
The 2 hit points.
you know what? I'll say a D3. And
Yeah.
that's a 3, baby!
My man Bjorn is gonna make it.
Okay, he is back on 4 hit points. However, he is still majorly wounded.
Yeah, understandably. He put up a hell of a fight. He outran 3 dogs while one was clamped down on his leg and he was carrying another person plus all his supplies.
I'll say this is probably a bit of an old-timey health kit. You've given him a painkiller, and there's this little flask of whiskey for him to wash it down with.
You'd love to see it.
Yeah, and with that, Bjorn is a resilient man. He grunts and he sits back up. He's ready.
I'll hand him his fallen nunchucks.
He takes them and nods. Thank you.
I guess we should head somewhere for him to recover for a bit.
Alright,
Just whatever is nearby, I guess.
As you help Bjorn to his feet, you can hear off in the distance more howling and barking. And Bjorn looks at you and will, like, kind of put his hand out in request for the gun.
I'll hand it to him.
Limping alongside you, he'll kind of lead you maybe like 15, 20 feet, further away than that, about like 30 feet away from the gas station, and then he'll turn around, aim at one of the pumps, and fire. That is going to be an aimed shot. The bullet hits the pump, and there's a spark, and then there's just an eruption of flame. And it makes a lot of noise. There's this massive explosion, and you get hit with this wash of heat. However, there does seem to kind of be a bit of a wall of fire blocking off this highway road to prevent any further creatures from approaching.
And momentarily stopping us from going back to our supplies.
That is true. So you're now standing with your backs against... There's a few more meters of road before there's a bridge across a river. And he'll look at the bridge and say, let's try to find somewhere where there aren't dogs so we can lay low.
Not a bad idea, Bjorn.
And now with the two of you hobbling across the river, you exit South Blackbrooke, and over the course of about an hour of limping, you can hear the dogs kind of howling and barking across the bridge. And I'll make a check for him, and I'd like you to make a check as well for listen, to see how far away the dogs are. Like if they're getting closer, if they're getting further.
Listening, I can do. Allegedly. That's a 49, so I cannot.
Alright. With all the recent gunfire, your ears are ringing. And so are Bjorn's. So you can just hear the cacophony of howling and barking, and it seems to be getting quieter as you get further away. And you begin walking into Blackbrooke proper, and you're walking down the highway, and you pass this kind of residential area with a lot of different small houses kind of facing the river. And the two of you kind of silently agree that you want to head further into town before you settle down, even though it is taking a lot out of Bjorn to keep walking. You and him both know a little bit of pain now is better than being mauled to death by dogs in an hour because he couldn't handle walking another 20 meters.
Yeah.
So you pass through this residential area and a small convenience store and come up on another roundabout with these two cute little coffee shops on either side. One's a coffee shop, one's a cafe. There is a difference, apparently.
So just double checking, we're in North Blackbrooke now?
Yeah, you're in Blackbrooke proper.
Gotcha.
And you continue past these coffee shops and you continue walking down the road, and in front of you is a diner with a flickering light that says Blackbrooke Diner. And like the light's on, it's flickering, but it looks fairly safe.
Don't diners have like a lot of windows and stuff? That's just like a big open room.
This diner is quite large, as if the front half is like a diner, but then the back half would probably have kitchens and maybe the owner lived in the building. So there could be an apartment, there could be an upstairs where there's like a whole kind of apartment where they live.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess I can check it out, and at least there's power.
All right.
I'll help Bjorn inside.
Okay. So you push open the door for Bjorn to enter, and the door hits the little bell and it jingles. And the diner itself is quite dark. There aren't many lights on inside. All of the booths are practically like they're just kind of coated in darkness. You can't see a lot of what's going on. There are a few lights on, like there's a light on down in the kitchen, for example, so you can see a kind of light emitting from down the hallway.
I'll go check it out. I'm taking the gun with me.
All right.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. How's it been
Yeah.
so far?
It's been pretty intense. Like that's the best word to describe it, really.
Eventful. I heard gunshots and explosion.
Yep.
Ben, I'd
Fine.
like you to make a spot hidden check for me.
Spot hidden check? Alright, I have to remember how this works. I need to pull out my character sheet.
Yep.
I forgot to do that.
I'd also like you to make a spot hidden check, Malikai.
Oh, you
Wonder what I'm looking for. That is a failure.
All right, and Bjorn failed as well.
I got a 2.
Ooh, okay. So you see pretty easily two figures enter the building. A large man in a suit and a smaller old man in like a jacket. The large man seems to be limping and he's holding a gun. He looks fairly worse for wear.
Mm-hmm.
And the older man is kind of carrying him on his shoulder.
He's carrying the little man? No, the big man? The old man's carrying the big man?
Yes, because the big man is wounded.
I see. The human looking?
Yes.
I'm gonna call out from behind my little booth where I'm hiding. I'd be like, human here, I'm armed. Are you guys gonna, like, kill me? What the fuck is going on here?
I look to Bjorn.
Bjorn groans.
We're not hostile, but we're injured.
Shit.
Oh yeah, I should also mention the older man has a big kind of scrape on his face,
That's the big
Like-
scrape.
like he hit the ground too hard or something.
I don't think I had medical supplies.
Do you have any medical
Um,
skills? Because
I mean, my first aid was at base level, which is 30, so I guess I
Okay.
could do that. Like, I don't have anything to like patch him up with. I don't know if I need like a first aid kit or like an improvised first aid kit or something. Like, what do the rules say about that? Can I just like wave my hands over his face and just magically have a 30% chance to heal him?
a medicine check without supplies is basically trying to scrounge together what you can, like a torn sleeve, if you have like alcohol on hand, using that as a disinfectant, like kind of just scrounging together whatever you can. However, if you've got medical supplies, I would say I don't think that would affect the roll in any way, but it would affect the outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Like, yeah, I just caught a train here and kind of came out and almost kind of went straight over here, you know, bright flashing lights and all that. It was a fucking thing outside. Did you see that? That was kind of crazy.
What kind of thing?
I don't fucking know. It had like fucking walking on all fours, large shoulders. It was spooky.
Dog looking thing?
Yeah, the dog looking thing.
We just got attacked by a group of them.
A group of them?
We killed 3 and we heard more coming off in the distance.
Jesus.
You said
Like
you're
the thing.
armed. Have you got much ammo?
I don't fucking know.
You have 12 shells for your
12
sword or
shells.
shotgun.
Alright, I'm gonna...
Where's got a shotgun?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I do have that written down. 12 buckshot. A couple 9mm and some buckshot. I don't know what you need. What are you strapped with?
Bjorn will kind of lift up his Beretta pistol, the 9mm.
9mm, you're in luck. I got 3 of those, and I'll hand them over.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
let me
Excellent.
touch that up for you. I'll see what I can do. I'll do a quick first aid check on his face.
Okay. On Malikai's face, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a 87 out of 30, so I fuck it up.
Just tears open my face.
You find like an old tablecloth on like one of the counters, and you just kind of dab the scrape on his face, but it doesn't really do anything. You just clean a bit of blood off.
Yeah, I'm not very good at this. I don't know, how are you on medicine? Do you need anything for your boy? I don't know what his name is. The big
This
guy?
is Bjorn. He's my manservant. Did you say you caught a train here?
Yeah, train.
Or there be trains out?
I was looking around, dude. I don't know what the fuck is going on. No trains have left here since like 1979. I don't even know how the train even got here in the first place.
I mean, the town's been abandoned since the 70s.
Yeah, 1979. There was some sort of fuck, I took notes on it. Where is it?
There was a prison break, if I recall. That
Yeah,
and
there was a
the
government
injuries
issued
people sustained.
evacuation of the whole town and valley. Wacky, huh?
That's why we're here.
Oh, really?
Just investigating whatever happened.
So is that all you know so far? There was a prison break?
Well, I can give you the specifics.
Yeah.
I did a bit of research before coming here. Apparently, in the 70s, there was some sort of incident in the mine nearby that led to a large fire spreading all throughout the entire mine system. And with all the smoke, inhalation, and ash, it made the citizens sick. So they moved over here, which is a new town they built before there was a prison escape. And between the sickness and the large crime rate, the government ordered an evacuation.
Mhm.
But there's about 4 or 5 towns in this valley we're in.
Gotcha.
We just got here last night, but whenever we got into town, we both passed out, and we awoke. We had a car accident. Been stranded ever since. There's no reception, none of the phone lines work. And we were at the mechanics whenever we were looking for some car parts when one of those dogs showed up. Might I ask your name?
Oh, it's Sean. Sean Volkov. Nice to meet you.
My name is Arthur, and this is Bjorn.
Arthur, Bjorn. Bjorn, I'm assuming, is still in a critical condition.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not very good with medicine. Are you?
I've bandaged his wounds so the bleeding stopped, but
Hmm.
I don't have the skills or supplies to do much more at the moment.
Well, to my specialized knowledge, most facilities such as this are required to have some sort of medical kit lying around somewhere. Hopefully we can find it. Maybe in the kitchen or the storeroom or something.
Not a bad idea.
You know, disinfectant's probably out of date if they can go out of date. But, I mean, if he's in pain, I got a bottle of out of date Quaaludes. I don't know what that'll do to him, but who knows?
I'll take a quick look if there's any more medical supplies on the premises.
I'll help him out as well. I got a good spot hidden.
That's good because I do not.
Yep, that's 51 out of 65.
I got 94 out of 25.
Okay, I would say, I don't know if it's the system in Call of Cthulhu, but I would say that you could give Finn advantage so he can roll twice and take the highest result.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, by assisting him.
Honestly, I won't even lie to you, that was 251s.
251s, what's your spot hidden?
65.
Okay. So, looking around, you head into the back room into the kitchen that Malikai was actually planning on checking before a homeless man with a shotgun crawled out from under one of the tables.
Well, when you put it like that, it makes me look kind of bad.
There is a light on in the kitchen.
Excellent.
So you head into the kitchen, and up on the wall there is a kind of box nailed to it with a big red cross on it.
Awesome.
You'll love to see it.
Well, you do love to see it.
Inside, it's mostly stuff for either small cuts or burns, because this is a kitchen. So there's burn ointments, there's bandages, there's some painkillers, some band-aids.
I know we can get him some painkillers.
Alright. And with that, he himself is going to make a medicine check, as he is somewhat skilled in that regard. And that is a 23. That's a pass. With that, damn, that painkiller fucking put some pep in his step. He's looking okay. I mean, obviously he's still very grievously wounded, but he doesn't look like he's gonna keel over and die like he did. These wounds will require time to heal, and until they do, they will be hindering his ability to use his legs in peak capacity.
Fair enough. I mean, you can't be almost eaten by dogs and just walk it off.
Yeah. And so with that, Bjorn will actually take the contents of the medical kit and put it in his own first aid kit, which you used to bandage him. So now he has burn ointment, which might come in handy at some point.
So true. I'm glad it isn't out of date, considering it's been sitting around for like 20 years.
That's true.
Probably even longer than that, to be honest.
Oh, maybe not. If it was 79 they evacuated, that would be 16 years. I don't know how long medicine stays good, but
That's also assuming that they regularly,
replaced
changed
it, yeah.
out. Yeah. And for all we know, it could have been sitting there for 30 years before they left.
And so I would actually say this is probably a good spot to end Malikai's session 0. Sean and Arthur begin exchanging information that they each know on the area, which in Sean's case isn't a lot. Like, Sean's like, holy fuck, how do you know so much, dude? Goddamn.
Oh, yeah, he's got a New York accent.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Bada bing, bada boom.
He's from fucking New York. It's Sean Volkov.
And so, considering the fact that you and Bjorn are both wearing body cams, although it is very shaky footage, you did manage to capture the entire fight scene on film.
Oh, that's an impressive fight scene, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, for the most part, it's just like shaky cam running, and you can hear a lot of barking and growling.
To be fair, I was facing backwards half the time.
Yeah. But yeah, so you guys sit down in the diner and kind of lay low for a little bit. Sean is happy to see another human face after the less than welcoming welcome that he had into the town, as are you and Bjorn. You will have a brief moment of respite and can all regain 1 point of sanity.
Oh, you can
That's-
regain them.
I'll allow it.
Cool, I didn't know that was possible.
Compared to me, you're already fucking batshit.
You all sit down, take a break. You find some drinks in the fridge. Admittedly, they're warm and they're a bit old, but fucking flat lemonade isn't the worst thing on the planet. So you all sit down. And have a moment of respite and calm.
Do you have any food on you, by the way?
We probably have a little bit.
It's all in the car.
Okay.
Well, I assume we brought enough for just today,
I mean,
because we didn't know how far we were going.
I've got these, and he pulls out like 2 little
Muesli bars.
like travel rations, like biscuits, cheese, nuts, and berries.
Yeah.
All right, good. I didn't want to share anyway, and I take all my bread and hummus. By the way,
Yeah.
have you encountered any weird shit involving time?
I personally think possibly, like, whenever we came here, we both fell asleep and woke up driving in town. But, like, we were both asleep. Bjorn was at the wheel, but, like, I woke up first and we were just driving downtown after we
Interesting.
passed the sign that said, "Welcome to Blackbrooke."
Yeah, see, because while I was in the train station, I also fell asleep, but I noticed the clock reset to 4 a.m.
Wait a second. 4 a.m. exactly?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, by the way, Malikai, you know how I said when you woke up it was about
It was
4:57,
4:46 a.m.
4:46
I wrote it
a.m.?
down.
At this point, it's probably about 4:30.
In the afternoon?
No,
At night?
in the
Yeah,
morning.
in the morning.
Wait. Surely 24 hours haven't passed.
No, I'm telling you, dude, there's some weird shit going on here.
We woke up 16 minutes in the future? What?
Make a sanity
Look,
check.
man. Sanity check. Both of us?
I
21. That's a success.
think you've already come to the revelation. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've seen a fair amount of wacky shit.
Bjorn swiftly loses that point of sanity that he just gained, and you passed the check. So
He falls over and screams because his power stat is 3.
this bizarre revelation of yours it does come as a shock. However,
I had my suspicions.
yeah. So yeah, you all sit down and chat and exchange kind of like theories on what's going on. And with that, I will wrap up the session 0 for you, Malika.
Excellent.
Excellent.
And
I had fun, King.
and the very brief follow-up session for you, Finn.